The world is full of noise, constant distractions, demands, and endless struggles for control. Every day we're bombarded by forces beyond our command, and we fight to bend them to our will, but we can't. And here's the truth that no one wants to face. The more you chase control, the more you lose yourself in the chaos. But there is a way out, a way to rise above all this madness, and it starts with something simple yet profound: detachment. It's not about retreating from the world. It's about taking command of your mind, your emotions, your actions. It's the core teaching of Stoicism, where true power lies not in controlling the uncontrollable, but in mastering yourself. Imagine a life where you are unshaken by the storms around you, where nothing can disturb your peace because you've learned to detach from what doesn't serve you. This video is not just about surviving the chaos, it's about thriving in it without being ruled by it. So, if you're ready to break free from the endless struggle for control and discover a path to true freedom and strength. If you want to start your journey toward personal mastery, please subscribe. It's a step toward taking control of your life and shaping the future you want. You've probably spent a lot of time trying to control the world around you. We all have. Whether it's the people in our lives, our careers, or the circumstances we find ourselves in, we've been taught that if we just try hard enough, we can bend things to our will. But have you ever stopped to think about how much energy you're pouring into things that are completely out of your control? The weather changes when it feels like it. People will act in ways you can't predict, and life will throw curveballs no matter how carefully you plan. The truth is, we're fighting against forces far bigger than ourselves, and the harder we try to control them, the more we end up losing. This isn't just a theory, it's reality. And while this may sound harsh, it's also incredibly freeing, because the only thing we can actually control is ourselves. It's about focusing on what we can influence, instead of getting tangled up in things that will never bend to our desires. As Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." What matters isn't how much you plan or control everything around you. It's how you handle the things you actually have the power to change, your reactions, your mindset, and your actions. That's where your real strength lies. Trying to control everything outside of you will only bring frustration. You can't control other people's thoughts or actions. You can't predict every outcome. You can't even control the way the world turns. And yet, so many of us get caught in this endless cycle of attempting the impossible. It's exhausting, isn't it? You keep planning, keep striving, keep worrying about the things you can't change. And what do you get in return? Anxiety, stress, disappointment. When things don't go your way, you're left feeling powerless, like you failed at something that was never really in your grasp to begin with. The more you try to control the uncontrollable, the more it slips from your hands. It's a losing game, and yet we keep playing. Why? Because we've been taught that control equals safety. We've been conditioned to believe that if we can just manage every detail, we can avoid pain, disappointment, and uncertainty. But the real lesson here is that the only way to truly have peace in your life is to accept that some things will always be outside your grasp. So what can you control? Yourself. And that's where the power lies. When we detach from the need to control everything, we can finally free ourselves from the constant anxiety that comes with it. Letting go doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It means making the conscious choice to stop fighting against the current and to start swimming with it. It's about choosing where you place your energy and knowing when to let go of what you can't change. It's the path to freedom. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You don't need to be constantly battling the world. You don't need to waste your energy trying to force things into your preferred shape. Instead, direct your efforts inward, master your mind, command your responses. When you do this, you start to feel less at the mercy of the world around you and more like the architect of your own peace. Control is seductive. It feels safe, secure, like if we just get it right, everything will fall into place. But it's an illusion, a trap. You might think that if you have enough control over your circumstances, you'll be invulnerable. But the more control you grasp for, the more you sink into a false sense of security, and the more vulnerable you become when things inevitably go wrong. That's the nature of life. Things will go wrong, plans will fail, people will disappoint you. The world will change in ways you never expected, and when your grip on control falters, you'll be left scrambling, you'll be left feeling helpless. But the beauty of Stoicism is that it teaches you that you don't have to be helpless in those moments. You don't have to fall apart when life doesn't go your way. You just need to know that there is power in accepting what's out of your control and redirecting your energy into what you can change. Your mindset, your attitude, and your actions. That's the ultimate freedom. The key to peace isn't in controlling everything around you. It's in knowing where your real power lies, within yourself. Once you realize that the need to control everything around you is the real trap, you'll start to see the world differently. You'll start to understand that the only thing worth fighting for is your inner peace. It's in how you respond to life, not in trying to shape it to your will. By detaching from the illusion of control, you take back the only thing you ever truly had the right to control, yourself, and that's where real power resides. So the question becomes, how do you start this journey of detachment? How do you begin to free yourself from the need to control the world around you? The first step is recognizing that you can't force everything to go your way. The second step is making a decision to let go of the things you can't control and focusing on what you can. The way you respond, the way you choose to see the world, the way you navigate through uncertainty. The third step is embracing uncertainty and finding comfort in the fact that not knowing what comes next is actually a source of freedom, not fear. You'll never be able to control every aspect of your life, but you can control how you choose to live it, and that is the real path to peace. So, let go. Stop fighting for control and start embracing the uncertainty of life. The world will still be chaotic, unpredictable, and uncontrollable, but you'll be stronger for it. By shifting your focus to yourself and your own responses, you free yourself from the anxiety of trying to bend life to your will. Instead of wrestling with the uncontrollable, you'll learn to move with it, respond to it, and ultimately rise above it. Letting go isn't a weakness. It's a strength, and it's the first step towards true inner peace. Take control of what you can, your own mind, and let the rest fall into place. It's only when we let go of the need to control everything that we finally find the peace we've been seeking all along. And this is where the real journey begins. We all crave security, don't we? It's a natural human instinct. We want to feel grounded, like we have control over our lives, that things will stay the same, or at least follow a predictable path. So, we form attachments. We cling to people, to certain outcomes, and to possessions, hoping that these things will give us the stability we crave. But here's the painful truth. The more we hold on, the more we end up restricting ourselves. Attachments aren't safety nets, they're chains. Chains that tie us to things beyond our control. When we attach ourselves to a specific person or outcome, we surrender a part of ourselves to them. We let them dictate how we feel. We place our happiness in their hands. And what happens when those things change, when they slip away, or when they don't turn out the way we expected? We fall apart. We feel betrayed, lost, incomplete. This is the trap. We tell ourselves that these attachments will bring us happiness, that they will keep us safe, but in reality, they do the opposite. The more tightly we hold on, the more vulnerable we become. Because what happens when something or someone changes or leaves? We feel like we've lost a piece of ourselves. We feel shaken to our core, like we can't stand on our own anymore. The truth is, attachment creates weakness, not strength. It keeps us tethered to the fear of loss, to the illusion that our well-being is tied to something external. We think that by holding on, we're securing our happiness, but in reality, we're only creating an opportunity for that happiness to be taken away. Imagine for a moment if you could live without that fear of loss. What if you could be completely at peace, knowing that no one and nothing has the power to disrupt your inner calm? That's the freedom that comes with letting go. When you release those attachments, you step into a space where you are no longer dependent on others or circumstances for your happiness. You become your own source of strength, your own source of peace. No longer does the world or the people in it have the power to throw you off balance. You take back control, not by holding on, but by letting go. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's the ultimate freedom. This doesn't mean that you stop caring or that you become cold or indifferent. It means that you stop relying on others or circumstances to define your sense of peace. You stop waiting for the world to align with your desires and instead focus on creating a sense of peace that's independent of the external. It's about accepting that you can't control everything, and that's okay. You stop fighting to keep things as they are, and instead you start embracing change, understanding that everything, good or bad, is temporary. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This idea, although often applied to material wealth, also extends to emotional wealth. The fewer emotional attachments we cling to, the more freedom we gain. Freedom from expectations, freedom from disappointment, freedom from the fear of loss. Letting go doesn't mean that you don't care about people or things. It doesn't mean you stop pursuing goals or forming connections. It means you learn to love people and things without letting them define you. You can deeply care about someone, but you don't rely on them for your happiness. You can pursue success, but you don't tie your self-worth to achieving it. You become okay with the ebb and flow of life, knowing that you have the inner strength to navigate whatever comes your way. When you detach, you free yourself from the emotional roller coaster of life. You stop reacting to every shift and change. Instead, you find balance, centeredness, and peace. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a gradual release of the things you've been holding on to. At first, it may feel like you're losing a part of yourself, but in reality, you're gaining something far more valuable: your autonomy. You're reclaiming your power. You're saying, "I am enough, regardless of what happens around me." And that realization is liberating. Think about how many times you've been caught up in the outcome of something. How many times have you tried to force an outcome, desperately wanting things to go your way? And when they didn't, how did you feel? Probably disappointed, maybe even angry or resentful. Now imagine how much lighter you'd feel if you weren't so attached to those outcomes. If, instead of focusing all your energy on trying to control everything, you simply let go and allowed life to unfold as it will. The result might not be what you expected, but it won't have the power to ruin you. You'll be able to take it as it comes, knowing that it doesn't define you. When you let go of attachments, you break free from the need to control, and in doing so, you find a deeper sense of security. Not the false security that comes from clinging to external things, but the real, unshakable security that comes from knowing that you can face whatever comes your way, no matter what. This kind of security doesn't come from holding on. It comes from letting go. It's the realization that no matter what life throws at you, you'll be okay. And that's the beauty of letting go. It's not about surrendering to life's chaos or giving up. It's about realizing that you don't need to control everything in order to be at peace. It's about taking back your power, not by holding tighter, but by loosening your grip. It's about trusting that the world will unfold as it should, and that you can adapt, grow, and thrive, no matter what happens. As you begin to release those attachments, you'll notice a shift within yourself. You'll feel lighter, freer, more at peace. The chains that once bound you to the outcomes, the people, the possessions, will start to fade, and you'll stand taller, stronger, and more confident. You'll realize that you are not your attachments. You are not the things you own or the people in your life. You are the person who can stand alone, unshaken by the world around you, and that's where your true strength lies. The journey to letting go is not easy, but it's worth it. It's a journey of self-discovery, of reclaiming your personal power, and of finding peace within yourself. It's the realization that the things you once thought defined you don't actually have that power. The moment you stop needing something or someone to be happy, you unlock a freedom most people will never experience, and that freedom is priceless. So, as you begin to release your attachments, remember this: the more you let go, the more you gain. You gain peace, you gain freedom, you gain the strength to face life as it comes, and in the end, that's the greatest strength of all. It's not the ability to control the world, it's the ability to stand firm, no matter what the world throws your way. Letting go of attachments isn't just about freedom from people or possessions. It's about freedom from the need to control everything. It's about trusting yourself and trusting life, knowing that whatever comes your way, you can handle it. And that, my friend, is true power. Detachment is often viewed in the wrong light. People see it as indifference, as though someone who practices detachment is somehow cold, unfeeling, or even weak. But let me tell you, nothing could be further from the truth. Detachment is not about withdrawing from life or distancing yourself from emotions. It's not about shutting down your feelings or retreating from the world. In fact, it's just the opposite. Detachment is a powerful tool for self-mastery. It's the ability to navigate the chaos of life with a steady mind, unshaken by the turbulence around you. It's the ability to experience loss, betrayal, or hardship without allowing it to tear you apart. In this way, detachment is a source of strength, not weakness. It's about making conscious choices about where you invest your emotional energy and understanding that you don't need to be swept away by every emotional current that comes your way. When we think of detachment, we often think of a person who is emotionally distant, as if they don't care about anything. But detachment isn't about not caring. It's about choosing what deserves your care. It's about recognizing that not everything, not every situation, not every person is worthy of your emotional investment. The Stoics taught us this principle. Our emotions are not to be our masters. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the heart of detachment, recognizing that while you can't control the world, you can control how you respond to it. You can choose to remain unaffected by things that don't serve your peace of mind. You can rise above the chaos, the noise, and the distractions, and move through life with a sense of calm and clarity that others can only dream of. Think about it for a moment. How often do we let other people's actions, opinions, or moods dictate how we feel? How many times have you allowed someone's words or actions to throw you off balance, making you angry, sad, or frustrated? It's so easy to get caught up in the emotional roller coaster of life, especially when we're constantly reacting to what's happening around us. but detachment allows you to stop being a slave to your reactions. It gives you the ability to step back and observe, to pause before you respond, and to choose how you want to engage with the world. It's not about avoiding emotions or being indifferent. It's about creating space between you and the external world so you can respond consciously rather than react impulsively. This isn't just some philosophical ideal, it's practical, real-world strength. Life will bring you challenges, heartbreaks, and moments of injustice. And it's easy to get caught up in those emotions, to let them consume you, to feel powerless in the face of them. But detachment gives you a way out. It allows you to endure hardship without breaking. When someone betrays you, when you experience loss, or when life doesn't go as planned, detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't let those feelings take control of you. You feel the pain, but you don't let it define you. You feel the anger, but you don't act on it impulsively. Detachment means choosing how to process your emotions rather than letting them overwhelm you. It's about acknowledging your feelings without allowing them to dictate your actions. And when you master this, nothing can break you. Think about the people you know who seem unshaken by the ups and downs of life. They don't get rattled when things don't go their way. They don't lose their heads when chaos strikes. These people have mastered detachment. They've learned to navigate the storms of life without being thrown off course. And it's not that they don't care. They care deeply. But they've learned to direct their emotional energy in ways that are empowering, not destructive. They don't waste their energy on things they can't control. They don't let other people's actions or the world's unpredictability take away their peace. They understand that true strength comes from within, from mastering your own mind and emotions, rather than trying to control everything outside of you. Detachment doesn't mean shutting yourself off from the world. It doesn't mean that you stop loving people or stop caring about your goals. It means that you love with wisdom, with boundaries. You care with awareness, knowing that your happiness doesn't depend on the approval or actions of others. You pursue your goals with passion, but without the desperate attachment to outcomes that often leads to frustration and disappointment. Detachment is about being fully present in the moment, without getting lost in it. It's about understanding that while you can't control everything around you, you can always control how you respond to it. And that control, that power, is where your true strength lies. In fact, detachment is an act of liberation. When you let go of the need to control, when you stop clinging to outcomes, people and things, you set yourself free. You free yourself from the fear of loss, from the grip of anxiety, and from the need for validation. You stop depending on the world to give you what you think you need. And in doing so, you realize that you are whole on your own. You don't need the world to validate you or make you feel complete. You find peace within yourself, and from that place of inner strength, you can face whatever comes your way. Detachment isn't about turning your back on life. It's about engaging with it from a place of power and clarity, knowing that you are the one in control of your inner world. This shift in perspective is what allows you to remain calm in the face of chaos. It's what enables you to weather life's storms without being destroyed by them. When you let go of attachments, you stop being at the mercy of life's unpredictable nature. You stop tying your peace to things that can be taken away. Instead, you find peace within yourself, and that peace becomes unshakable. It doesn't matter what the world throws at you. You can weather the storm because you are anchored in your own strength, your own detachment. In the end, detachment is the ultimate form of self-mastery. It's not about withdrawing from life. It's about engaging with life without being enslaved by it. It's about being fully alive, fully present, and fully in control of how you respond to the world around you. Detachment isn't weakness. It's the quiet strength that allows you to remain steady and unshaken in a world that's constantly shifting. When you can detach from the chaos, you step into a space of power and peace that most people will never know. And in that space, you are unstoppable. So the next time you feel yourself getting caught up in the storm of emotions, the next time you feel like life is getting out of control, remember this. Detachment isn't about shutting down. It's about opening up to the possibility of true freedom. It's the ability to let go of what you can't control, to choose how you respond, and to find strength in the stillness. Because when you master detachment, you master yourself, and nothing in this world can break you. Emotions, our greatest strength and our greatest weakness. We all experience them, and they run deep. In moments of joy, they lift us higher than we thought possible. In moments of sorrow, they can drown us. But the truth is, emotions can often cloud our judgment. They hijack our thoughts, making us react impulsively, and when we react impulsively, we rarely make our best decisions. The key here is not to eliminate emotions, but to take control of them, to regain mastery over them. It's in this mastery that you find true strength. You see, when you learn to detach emotionally, you gain something extraordinary, the ability to observe your emotions without being swept away by them. This doesn't mean you stop feeling, far from it. You still experience joy, pain, anger, and fear. But when you're no longer at the mercy of these emotions, they no longer have the power to dictate your actions. The Stoics understood this very well. They believed that while we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This speaks to the emotional turmoil we often create for ourselves. We get lost in what-ifs, in fear, in projections of worst-case scenarios. But the Stoic mind chooses to see things clearly. Emotions, as powerful as they are temporary. They arise, they swell, and then they pass. And in that passing, they leave behind the opportunity to act from a place of clarity, not chaos. When you learn to detach, you stop reacting to emotions as though they control you. You become the observer, watching emotions rise and fall, knowing they do not define you. And that awareness, that distance from the emotional storm, is where strength lies. Think about the times in your life when emotions have taken control. Maybe it was in an argument, where your anger got the best of you, and you said things you didn't mean. Or perhaps it was in a moment of fear, where you froze instead of acting because your mind was overwhelmed with the possibility of failure. We've all been there. Emotions are powerful, but when we let them take the wheel, we often end up somewhere we didn't intend to go. But here's the truth. You don't need to let your emotions take control. You don't need to be swept away by every wave of anger, sadness, or fear that comes your way. Emotions are just signals, not commands. They're telling you something about what's going on inside of you, but it's your response that determines the outcome. The real question is, how will you respond? The beauty of emotional independence is that you regain your power. No longer do your emotions pull you in different directions. You learn to sit with them, to acknowledge them, and to let them pass, knowing that they don't define you. This is not about suppressing your feelings or pretending they don't exist. It's about understanding that they are temporary, that your emotions are not permanent states of being. They are waves. And like waves, they rise and fall. And with practice, you become someone who can ride those waves, not be drowned by them. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." Your emotions may shape your experience, but they don't have to shape your identity. When you detach emotionally, you shift from being the victim of your feelings to being the creator of your responses. Consider a moment of frustration. You've been working hard, and things aren't going as planned. It's easy to let the frustration build, to let it become anger or self-pity, and to lash out or give up. But what if, in that moment, you took a step back? What if you observed your frustration, allowed yourself to feel it, but didn't let it dictate your actions? You could then act from a place of calm, choose your response thoughtfully, and move forward with clarity. It's in those moments of emotional independence that you find your true power. You become stronger, more resilient, and more focused. The energy that would have been wasted on impulsive reactions is now channeled into productive, conscious action. Emotions don't have to control you. When you detach, you stop letting them dictate your decisions. You create a space between the feeling and the reaction, and in that space, you find the freedom to choose how you want to act. This is not a denial of emotions, but a deeper understanding of them. You acknowledge the feeling, feel it fully, but you don't let it carry you away. You choose not to react impulsively, but to respond thoughtfully. And over time, this practice strengthens you. It builds resilience. It helps you bounce back quicker from setbacks and adapt to challenges with grace. This kind of emotional independence doesn't mean that life becomes easier, or that pain, frustration, or fear disappear. It means that when those moments come, you have the strength to meet them with clarity, not chaos. You don't let your emotions dictate your self-worth or your actions. You don't let fear paralyze you. You don't let anger drive you to destructive actions. Instead, you embrace the fullness of life's emotional spectrum with the confidence that you can navigate it. You become the master of your own mind. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by emotions. After all, they're deeply ingrained in us. We've been taught to feel deeply, to react quickly, to follow our gut. But there's strength in choosing a different path, the path of emotional independence. It doesn't make you less human. In fact, it makes you more human. You are not defined by your emotions. You are the one who chooses how to respond to them. You reclaim your power, your peace, and your resilience. The next time life throws a challenge your way, you won't be swept away by the current. You'll stand firm, grounded in your emotional independence, navigating the storm with the calm assurance that you control how you respond. Emotional independence isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about practicing the art of observing your emotions without being controlled by them. And in doing so, you create a space for your best self to emerge. You allow yourself to act from a place of clarity, not chaos. You become stronger, more focused, more resilient, and most importantly, you become free. Free from the tyranny of your own emotions, free from the fear of being overwhelmed, free to be the person you were always meant to be. When you learn to detach emotionally, you no longer let the world control you. You become the master of your own emotional world, and that's the greatest strength you can ever possess. Life doesn't owe you anything. It doesn't owe you stability, fairness, or predictability. In fact, it's the very opposite. Life is unpredictable, chaotic, and often cruel in its refusal to follow the path we expect. We spend so much time clinging to the idea that we can control it, that we can make it work out according to our plans. But the truth is much harsher than that. Everything is temporary. The relationships you cherish, the goals you chase, the success you work so hard for, they're all temporary. People will come into your life and they will leave. Plans will crumble and dreams will fade. That's the nature of existence. Nothing lasts forever. The sooner you realize this, the sooner you can free yourself from the constant struggle to keep everything in place. You see, life's impermanence doesn't have to be a source of fear. It can be a source of liberation. Carl Jung understood the power of accepting impermanence. He said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." What he meant was that when you accept that life, like you, is constantly changing, you stop fighting against it. You stop trying to hold on to what's slipping through your fingers, and instead, you learn to move with it. It's the acceptance of your own impermanence, the recognition that nothing stays the same, that allows you to truly live. When you stop fighting change, you stop fearing it. Instead of holding on to things, to people, to outcomes that you can't control, you embrace the fluidity of life. You begin to understand that everything, even your pain, is transient. The struggles you face now won't last forever, just as your triumphs won't. And in this acceptance, you find peace. How many of us live in constant anxiety, always afraid of what could go wrong, always trying to plan for every possible outcome? The truth is, no amount of planning or control will stop the inevitable changes life brings. We all experience loss, heartbreak, failure, and uncertainty. And every time one of these things comes, we feel like the world is falling apart. But in reality, it's only the world moving, shifting, evolving. Everything around you is constantly changing, and when you accept this, you release yourself from the grip of fear and attachment. Change is not something to fight. It's something to flow with. Just like a river, the current may take you in directions you didn't expect, but you don't resist it. You ride it, knowing that it will eventually take you exactly where you need to be. This isn't to say you shouldn't have goals or that you shouldn't care about what happens to you. It's about learning to be at peace with the fact that those things can change at any moment. And when they do, you'll be okay. You don't need to cling to the past or hold tight to the future, because you understand that what is meant to happen will happen, and there is power in embracing that truth. When you accept life's impermanence, you stop waiting for things to settle down or for the next big moment to give you meaning. You stop looking for stability outside of yourself, and instead, you create it within. This inner stability doesn't come from having everything under control, but from knowing that you can handle whatever life throws your way. You are not defined by your circumstances, your successes, or your failures. You are defined by how you respond to them. The idea of impermanence may sound unsettling at first. After all, we want to believe that the good things in life will last, that the people we love will always be there, and that our achievements will remain permanent. But when you live with the understanding that nothing is permanent, you can start to live more fully. You no longer need to hold tightly to the fleeting moments, trying desperately to make them last. Instead, you savor them for what they are, beautiful, temporary, and precious. You embrace the present because you know it's all you really have. You no longer fear change or loss because you understand they are a natural part of life's flow. In this way, accepting impermanence becomes an act of freedom. This acceptance doesn't mean you stop caring or become apathetic to life's events. It doesn't mean you give up on your dreams or stop investing in the people you love. It means you understand that everything you hold dear is in constant motion. You can't prevent change, and you don't need to. What you can do is choose how you respond to it. When things change, you don't have to resist them. You can accept them, grieve them if needed, but always know that you will move forward. You will adapt. You will grow. The moments of hardship will pass, and you will emerge stronger on the other side. The key to finding peace in this impermanence lies in shifting your perspective. Instead of seeing change as a threat, start seeing it as an opportunity. When something falls apart, it's not the end of the world. It's the beginning of something new. The failure of one plan is simply the opening for a better one to emerge. When people leave, it's not a loss. It's a space for new connections to form. And when success fades, it's not a sign that you've failed. It's a reminder that you are capable of creating success again whenever you choose to. By embracing impermanence, you let go of the false hope that you can hold on to things forever. You stop fighting against the inevitable and start living with the flow of life. You learn to make the most of every moment without holding too tightly to it. You find freedom in the uncertainty, knowing that you don't need to control the world to find peace. But how do you truly begin to accept life's impermanence? It starts with mindfulness, the practice of being present with what is. When you accept that things are fleeting, you begin to experience them more fully. You stop rushing through life, trying to get to the next thing, and start appreciating the now. You allow yourself to feel what you're feeling in the moment, without judgment, knowing that it will pass, just like everything else. You learn to let go of the need to control everything, trusting that whatever happens is part of your journey. And you make peace with the fact that change is the only constant in life. As you begin to live with this understanding, you'll notice a shift. Instead of feeling anxious about the future or regretful about the past, you'll begin to feel grounded in the present. You'll start to appreciate the beauty in the small, fleeting moments that make up life. The laughter shared with friends, the quiet mornings alone, the fleeting sunset. These moments become more meaningful when you accept their impermanence. You'll stop worrying about what you might lose and start cherishing what you have, knowing that it will be gone in its own time. In the end, life's impermanence isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. It's a reminder that everything is temporary, that nothing is guaranteed, and in that there is peace. The peace that comes from knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way. The peace that comes from trusting yourself to navigate life's changes, and the peace that comes from fully living, knowing that every moment is precious. The world around us is chaotic. You can feel it every day. Distractions, frustrations, the constant bombardment of events that seem beyond our control. It's easy to get caught up in the rush, to feel like you're constantly trying to catch up with the world. And you know what? That's exactly what most people do. They let the external world dictate their pace, their mood, and ultimately their sense of well-being. But here's the thing. You don't have to live like that. The external world might be out of control, but there's one place you can have complete control: your inner world. And once you master that, once you learn to control how you respond to life, you gain something powerful. You gain peace. You gain clarity. You gain the ability to face anything that comes your way without being shaken. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." What he meant was that true mastery doesn't come from controlling the outside world. It comes from knowing yourself, understanding your own mind, and learning to navigate the chaos with purpose. It's not about trying to control every circumstance or every person around you. It's about controlling your response to them. This is the essence of true power: inner control. When you learn to master your inner world, you stop being at the mercy of every external event. You stop being tossed around like a leaf in the wind. Instead, you become a steady force, unshaken, no matter what life throws at you. When you try to control everything outside yourself, you're fighting an endless battle. You can't control the weather, the people in your life, the economy, or the unexpected challenges that come your way. These things are out of your reach, and the harder you fight to control them, the more energy you waste, and the more frustrated you become. But there's a different path, a better way. Instead of fighting to control the world, focus on what you can control: yourself, your reactions, your thoughts, your emotions. That's where your true power lies. When you learn to respond to life with calmness and clarity, you transcend the chaos. You rise above it. The difference between someone who is constantly overwhelmed by life and someone who remains steady in the face of adversity is this: self-mastery. Mastery of the inner world. Life doesn't always go as planned. People disappoint us. We fail. we face setbacks. But when you master your own mind, you stop reacting with impulsive emotions. You learn to pause, to reflect, and to choose your response. This is where real strength comes from. It's not about being unaffected by what happens around you. It's about being in control of how you respond. When you do that, you become unshakable. No matter the storm, you remain calm. Think about the last time you were frustrated or anxious. Perhaps you were facing a difficult situation at work, or maybe a relationship was causing you stress. How did you respond? Did you let those feelings take control of you, spiraling into a place of negativity or panic? Or did you take a step back, breathe, and choose your next step with intention? The ability to respond rather than react is the key to mastering your inner world. When you stop letting your emotions dictate your actions, you begin to live with clarity and purpose. You don't allow external circumstances to cloud your judgment or rob you of your peace. This doesn't mean you'll never feel frustrated, sad, or angry. Those feelings are part of being human. But when you master your mind, you learn to process those emotions in a healthy way. You don't suppress them, but you don't let them control you either. You acknowledge them, understand where they're coming from, and then you decide how to respond. This is true emotional freedom. It's not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to experience those emotions without letting them dominate your life. When you master your inner world, you stop being a victim of your circumstances. You stop letting the world dictate your happiness. You learn to create your own peace, regardless of what's happening around you. And that peace isn't fragile. It's not dependent on the weather, the people you encounter, or the outcomes of your plans. It's a deep, unshakable peace that comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you have the strength to handle it. You are in control, and that's where your real power lies. When we talk about mastery, it's easy to think of it as something external, something that requires changing the world around us. But the real mastery is internal. It's about taking charge of your thoughts, emotions, and responses. It's about becoming the kind of person who isn't thrown off by external circumstances. Instead of reacting impulsively to what happens, you respond thoughtfully and intentionally. You don't waste energy on things you can't control. You focus your energy on what matters, your actions, your mindset, and your growth. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. It's a skill that takes time to develop. It's a practice, just like any other. The first step is awareness, being aware of how you're reacting to situations and recognizing when your emotions are taking control. The next step is learning to pause, to take a deep breath, and to choose a response that aligns with your values and your goals. And over time, with consistent practice, this becomes second nature. You start responding to life with calmness and clarity, instead of being driven by emotional reactions. And when you master this, you become unstoppable, not because the world stops being chaotic, but because you stop being affected by that chaos. You stop letting external events define your emotional state. You stop reacting with fear, anger, or frustration, and instead, you move through life with a steady hand, no matter what happens. This is what true power looks like. It's not about changing the world around you, it's about changing your relationship with it. The world will always be chaotic. There will always be challenges, setbacks, and disappointments. But when you master your inner world, you stop being at the mercy of those external events. You stop letting them steal your peace or your sense of control. You learn to move through life with grace, clarity, and purpose, no matter what happens. You become a force that is unshaken, no matter the storm. And when you learn to live from this place of inner strength, nothing can stand in your way. True power doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from controlling yourself, from mastering your own mind, your own thoughts, and your own responses. When you do this, you become unshakable. The world may be chaotic, but your inner world can be calm, clear, and focused. And that's where your true strength lies. When you learn to master your inner world, you transcend the chaos around you. You become a force that is unshaken by anything life throws your way. You become a force that cannot be broken. How often have you sought approval from others? Maybe it was a compliment, a like on social media, or a word of praise from someone you admire. How often have you based your worth on how others see you, or on the validation you receive from the world around you? If you're being honest, it's probably more often than you'd like to admit. The truth is, this constant search for external validation is a trap. It keeps you chained to other people's opinions, constantly reaching out, hoping that someone will confirm your value, hoping that someone will tell you you're enough. But here's the harsh reality. As long as you rely on the approval of others to feel worthy, you'll never truly be free. You'll always be at the mercy of someone else's opinion, never knowing if you're good enough, never feeling secure in who you are. The moment you break free from this need for validation, you reclaim your freedom. You stop living for others and start living for yourself. You discover that your worth has always been within you, not in the eyes of those around you. In a world that constantly encourages us to seek approval, it's easy to lose sight of this. We're told from a young age that we need to prove ourselves, to show the world that we're worthy of attention, respect, or success. This need for validation gets ingrained in us. We get caught up in trying to impress others, in shaping ourselves to fit someone else's ideal, in seeking the approval that we think will make us feel whole. But the truth is, when we live this way, we're always chasing something that will never be fully satisfying. The more we seek outside validation, the more we tie our happiness to things that are fleeting and unreliable. One moment someone might praise us, and the next moment they might forget we exist. And when that happens, we feel lost, unsure of who we are. But when you detach from the need for validation, you free yourself from this exhausting cycle. You stop living for the approval of others and start living for yourself. You stop measuring your worth by how many likes or comments you get, how many compliments you receive, or how many people agree with your choices. Instead, you begin to measure your worth by your own standards. You find peace in knowing that you are enough, regardless of what anyone else thinks. This shift isn't easy. It requires you to dig deep, to question the beliefs you've held about yourself, and to let go of the fear that comes with not being approved. But once you do, something incredible happens. You start to feel truly free. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." When you find your worth within yourself, you discover your own why, your own purpose. This purpose isn't tied to the opinions or approval of others. It's something that is uniquely yours, something that no one can take away. You start to live with a sense of direction and confidence that comes from within, not from the fleeting praise or criticism of others. You realize that your value is intrinsic, that you don't need anyone's validation to feel good about yourself, and in that realization you find strength. Living for yourself means letting go of the constant need for reassurance. It means trusting in your own decisions, standing by your values, and embracing who you are, flaws and all. It's about knowing that you are enough, even when no one else acknowledges it. This doesn't mean you become indifferent to the opinions of others, or that you stop caring about the relationships in your life. It simply means that your sense of self-worth no longer depends on how others see you. When you stop seeking validation, you free up all the energy you used to spend chasing external approval. You begin to channel that energy into things that truly matter: your growth, your goals, and your relationships with people who genuinely support you. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we need to be constantly validated. especially in a society that thrives on social media and external recognition. We're told to measure our success by the number of followers we have or the accolades we receive. But what happens when that recognition fades? What happens when someone else takes the spotlight, or when a comment or like doesn't come through? You're left empty, chasing the next form of validation. But when you stop depending on that external approval, you start to realize that your value doesn't change based on someone else's opinion. You begin to live with authenticity, with the freedom to be who you truly are, without needing anyone to tell you that you're good enough. One of the most liberating things you can do for yourself is to embrace the idea that you are worthy, just as you are. You don't need to change yourself to fit someone else's standards. You don't need to change your personality, your interests, or your values to gain approval. You are enough. And once you internalize that truth, the need for validation from others fades away. You realize that the only approval that truly matters is your own, and that approval comes from living with integrity, staying true to yourself, and doing what aligns with your values. When you no longer depend on external validation, you open up space to focus on what truly matters. You stop wasting time and energy trying to fit into someone else's mold. Instead, you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, one that is grounded in self-love and self-respect. And as you do this, you begin to attract the right people and opportunities into your life. Not because you're seeking their approval, but because you're being true to yourself. When you live authentically, people are drawn to that energy. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just need to be who you are, and that is enough. It's important to remember that breaking free from the need for validation doesn't mean becoming indifferent or isolating yourself from others. It means choosing to validate yourself first. It means building your own sense of self-worth from within so that no one else can define you. This process is about reclaiming your power, your confidence, and your peace of mind. It's about living for yourself, not for the approval of others. And when you do that, you begin to live a life that is truly fulfilling. So ask yourself, how much of your energy is spent seeking the approval of others? How much of your worth is tied to what people think of you? The moment you decide to stop seeking validation, you step into your true power. You stop living for others and start living for yourself. You find your worth within, and from there, everything else falls into place. You are enough, just as you are, and when you realize this, you will never need anyone else's approval again. You'll be free to live authentically, to chase your dreams without fear, and to build a life that is entirely your own. In a world that never stops, where noise and distractions pull us in every direction, silence is more than just the absence of sound. It's a weapon. While the world shouts and demands your attention, you have the power to remain still, to step back, to pause, and to reclaim control. In the constant hustle, it's easy to get lost in the chaos, to feel like you have to keep up, keep talking, keep reacting. But true power doesn't come from being in the thick of things. It comes from being able to step back, observe, and decide how to respond. Silence gives you that space. It's not about withdrawing from the world. It's about choosing not to be swept away by it. It's in silence that you find clarity, and in clarity you find power. The truth is, most of the noise around us doesn't serve us. It distracts us, confuses us, and steals our energy. But silence, on the other hand, is where we reconnect with our true selves. It's where we get to reflect on what really matters, without all the external influences clouding our judgment. When you choose silence, you choose to take a step back from all the noise and connect with the stillness within. This is where you find your power. In a world that constantly demands your attention, silence allows you to think, to reflect, to really process what's happening in your life without jumping into reactions. How often do we make decisions in the heat of the moment when emotions are high and the world around us is chaotic? It's easy to get caught up in that whirlwind, but silence gives you the chance to pause, take a breath, and make decisions from a place of clarity. It's in those moments of stillness that you regain control over your thoughts and actions. You stop reacting impulsively, and instead you respond with intention and purpose. Silence doesn't just help you make better decisions, it also helps you understand yourself better. In a world that's always talking, always pushing, it's easy to lose track of your own voice, your own needs, your own desires. But in the quiet, you reconnect with yourself. You can hear your own thoughts, reflect on your own feelings, and understand your own goals. The noise of the world becomes a distraction from your own path. But silence. Silence is the space where you can hear your own truth. It's where you can connect with what really matters to you. And that connection with yourself is the key to finding true strength. When you stop and listen to the silence, you realize that you don't need the noise. You don't need the validation or the constant chatter. So much of our lives are spent trying to prove something to the world, to others, even to ourselves. But in silence, you realize that you're enough. You stop needing external validation because you know your worth comes from within. Silence teaches you that your true strength isn't in what you do or what you have. It's in who you are. And when you understand that, you stop seeking approval from others. You no longer need the world to confirm your value. You find that value inside yourself. Think about how often you get caught up in the noise of life. We're constantly bombarded with information, opinions, and distractions. It's easy to feel like we have to keep up with all of it, like we need to be in the know at all times. But how much of that noise actually serves us? How much of it brings us peace or helps us grow? Probably not much. In fact, most of it just adds to the confusion, the stress, and the chaos. But when you choose silence, you create a space where you can filter out the noise and focus on what really matters. Silence is the space where your true thoughts emerge, where your deepest insights rise to the surface, and where you can make decisions based on clarity, not confusion. The beauty of silence is that it forces you to slow down. It forces you to pause and reflect. In a world that's constantly pushing us to do more, to be more, and to keep moving faster, silence is the antidote. It's the pause that allows you to recharge, to reset, and to realign with your own values. It's easy to get caught up in the rush of life, to feel like you need to keep moving forward at all costs. But silence reminds you that it's okay to stop, to rest, and to listen. It's okay to take a step back and reflect on where you are, where you've been, and where you're going. When you master the power of silence, you stop letting the world dictate your pace. You stop being a slave to the noise and the distractions around you. Instead, you take control of your time and your energy. You make space for yourself to breathe, to think, and to act with intention. Silence doesn't mean doing nothing. It means choosing to act from a place of power, clarity, and focus. It means taking the time to reflect before reacting, to pause before speaking, and to move with purpose instead of being swept along by the current of life. In moments of stress, silence can be your greatest ally. When you're feeling overwhelmed, when emotions are running high, silence allows you to center yourself. It's the stillness that helps you regain perspective, to remember what truly matters. When everything else is in chaos, silence gives you a moment to ground yourself, and in that moment, you realize that you're not at the mercy of the world around you. You have the power to remain calm, to stay centered, and to respond with clarity. The power of silence isn't about shutting out the world. It's about finding a space within yourself that remains untouched by the external noise. This power isn't just about peace of mind, it's about strength. True strength isn't about reacting to everything that comes your way. It's about choosing your response with intention. It's about being able to stand firm in the face of challenges, knowing that your inner world is stable, no matter what's happening outside. Silence helps you build that strength. It gives you the space to reflect, to recalibrate, and to move forward with confidence. In the silence, you stop being controlled by external events and start controlling your own response. And when you master the power of silence, you stop feeling like you're constantly chasing after the next distraction. You stop feeling like you need to fill every moment with noise or activity. You realize that the quiet is where you recharge, where you reconnect with yourself, and where you make the most important decisions of your life. Silence is where you find your power, because it's in the stillness that you hear your own voice, and it's that voice that will guide you to your true path. So next time you're faced with chaos, with noise, with distractions, remember the power of silence. It's not about avoiding life. It's about choosing to move through it with clarity, calmness, and strength. When everyone else is shouting, choose to remain still. Choose to listen, choose to observe, and in that silence, you'll discover a power that no noise in the world can ever take away. Silence is where your true strength lies, and once you understand that, nothing can shake you. Life will hurt. There's no way around it. At some point, we all face loss, betrayal, disappointment, moments that feel like the world is closing in on us. It's the part of the human experience we all share, the part that nobody wants but everyone inevitably goes through. But here's the important truth that so many overlook. Pain doesn't have to break you. In fact, pain can shape you. It can become the force that molds you into someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The difference between those who rise above life's struggles and those who are crushed by them is not in avoiding pain, but in how they respond to it. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The ability to turn pain into strength is what separates the weak from the strong. It's easy to want to run from discomfort. Our natural instinct is to avoid pain, to protect ourselves from emotional or physical suffering. But what if I told you that by running from pain, you're only denying yourself the chance to grow? The truth is, when you learn to detach from the need for comfort, you open yourself up to a whole new world of possibility. Instead of viewing pain as something to avoid at all costs, you start to see it as a tool for growth, strength, and transformation. This is where true power lies. The ability to step into discomfort, to face the hardest parts of life, knowing that on the other side, you will be stronger for it. The moment you stop seeing pain as an enemy, you stop fearing it. You stop letting it control you. Instead, you begin to use it as a stepping stone to something greater. Pain, in this sense, becomes your ally, not your enemy. It's not the pain itself that holds power over you. It's how you let it influence you. When you can detach from the need to always feel comfortable, you give yourself the freedom to embrace the hard parts of life. You realize that discomfort doesn't signal defeat, it signals growth. Think about the times in your life when you've faced difficulty, when something didn't go as planned, when you were betrayed, when you lost something important. How did you react? If you're like most people, your first instinct was probably to retreat, to protect yourself, to avoid feeling the pain. But here's the secret. The more you run from discomfort, the longer it takes to heal. You stay stuck in that moment of pain, unable to move forward. But when you face it head-on, when you embrace the struggle, you give yourself the opportunity to transform. The hardest moments of your life can be the ones that teach you the most. Instead of allowing pain to overwhelm you, learn to step into it. Understand that every struggle you face is a chance to grow stronger, more resilient, and more capable. Every time life knocks you down, it's not about how hard you fall, it's about how quickly you get back up. And when you learn to embrace that, to see every challenge as an opportunity for growth, you start to build an unshakable strength within. Pain no longer becomes something to fear or avoid. It becomes something you can use to propel yourself forward. Turning pain into strength doesn't mean ignoring the hurt. It doesn't mean pretending like everything is fine when it's not. It means acknowledging the pain, feeling it fully, and then using it to fuel your growth. You understand that pain is part of the process, part of the journey. You accept it, not as something that holds you back, but as something that pushes you forward. The more you learn to embrace pain as a natural part of life, the more you free yourself from its grip. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances, and instead, you start seeing yourself as a survivor. Every pain, every setback, is just another step on your path to becoming the person you're meant to be. It's in the hardest moments of life that we discover our true strength. It's easy to be strong when everything is going well, when things are comfortable and smooth. But true strength is revealed in the face of adversity, in the moments when everything seems to be falling apart. This is when you find out what you're truly made of. When you're able to rise up, to face the world with resilience and determination, no matter how hard life gets, that's when you realize the power that was always inside of you. Pain doesn't have to weaken you. It can empower you if you let it. There's a deep, unspoken power that comes from being able to endure life's hardest moments without letting them destroy you. When you detach from the need for comfort, you stop letting life's challenges break you. Instead, you start to build a stronger version of yourself with every obstacle you face. Pain becomes the forge, and you are the steel. The more you face the fire, the more unbreakable you become. It's not about avoiding the tough times. It's about learning to thrive in them. It's about becoming someone who can stand tall in the storm, someone who knows that no matter how fierce the winds of life blow, they will never be broken. This doesn't mean you have to do it all alone. You don't have to suffer in silence or isolation. But it does mean that you learn to rely on your own strength to get through tough times. You don't need to wait for others to save you, to fix things for you, or to validate your worth. You already have everything you need within you, and the more you turn pain into strength, the more you tap into that inner power. You realize that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. You start to see each difficulty as an opportunity to learn, to evolve, and to become stronger. When you stop fearing pain, when you stop seeing it as something that has the power to destroy you, you start to see it for what it really is, a teacher. Pain has a way of showing you what's important, of forcing you to look at what truly matters. It teaches you to let go of the things that no longer serve you and to focus on what will truly help you grow. And in that growth, you find the strength to face anything life throws at you. So, the next time you're faced with pain, whether it's emotional, physical, or mental, remember this. It's not the pain itself that defines you. It's how you choose to respond to it. Pain can break you, but only if you let it. If you choose to use it as fuel, to let it shape you into a stronger, more resilient version of yourself, it becomes your greatest ally. You can turn every struggle into strength, every setback into a lesson, and every painful moment into a step forward. When you do this, you begin to see that pain doesn't have to be your enemy. It can be the force that propels you to greatness. Embrace it, use it, and let it make you stronger. Life isn't kind. It never promises smooth roads or easy paths. The truth is, the world will throw everything it can at you. Challenges will come. Hardship will knock on your door, often when you least expect it. But resilience isn't about avoiding those difficult times. It's about how you choose to respond, when they come. It's not about preventing life from testing you. It's about becoming so strong, so centered, that nothing can break you. When you detach from the need for comfort and control, you stop fearing what life might throw your way. Instead, you begin to stand tall, knowing that no matter how hard the blows, you will not be defeated. Resilience comes from your ability to bend without breaking. It's not about what happens to you, it's about how you choose to face it. Resilience comes from the choices you make in the face of adversity. It's not about denying the pain or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about choosing to keep going, even when life is pulling you in different directions. It's about understanding that your strength isn't just something you were born with. It's something you build every day. You build it through the way you face adversity, the way you respond to obstacles, and the way you refuse to give up. Most people view hardship as something to avoid, something to fear. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Pain, loss, disappointment, these things hurt. They make us question our abilities, our worth, and even the meaning of everything we've worked for. But when you accept that hardship is inevitable, when you embrace the reality that life will sometimes knock you down, you begin to see hardship differently. Instead of seeing it as something that's meant to destroy you, you start to see it as something that can make you stronger. Every challenge is an opportunity to build your resilience. Every setback is a chance to prove to yourself that you are capable of overcoming more than you ever thought possible. This shift in perspective doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and it takes practice. But the more you practice detaching from the need for comfort and control, the more resilient you become. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and you start becoming the architect of your own destiny. When things don't go as planned, when life throws you a curveball, you no longer crumble. You take it in stride, adjust your course, and keep moving forward. The more you detach, the more you realize that you are not defined by your circumstances. You are defined by how you respond to them. You are defined by your ability to rise above them. Resilience isn't about pretending everything is okay when it's not. It's about being honest with yourself about the challenges you face, while also being determined to keep going, no matter how difficult the road may seem. When you detach from the need for comfort and control, you stop relying on external factors to determine your emotional state. You stop needing everything to be perfect in order to feel at peace. Instead, you find peace within yourself, regardless of what's happening around you. And this inner peace is what allows you to remain resilient in the face of adversity. As you begin to embrace this mindset, you'll notice that you're not only more resilient, but you're also more adaptable. Life is unpredictable, and the world doesn't always work the way we expect it to. But the more resilient you become, the more you learn to adapt to whatever comes your way. You stop fighting against life's unpredictability and start moving with it. You become someone who can face anything with strength, knowing that you have the ability to adapt, to grow, and to overcome. The challenges you face become less daunting because you understand that you have the power to respond to them with clarity and calmness. One of the most powerful aspects of resilience is that it helps you break free from the cycle of self-doubt and fear. When you're not constantly trying to control everything around you, you start to realize that you are capable of handling whatever comes your way. You stop questioning yourself and start trusting in your ability to navigate through tough times. With every challenge you overcome, your confidence grows, and you begin to see yourself as someone who is capable, strong, and unbreakable. Resilience isn't just about surviving difficult times, it's about thriving because of them. It's about taking everything life throws at you and using it to build a stronger, more focused version of yourself. It's easy to let setbacks define you, to let hardship convince you that you're not strong enough or capable enough to handle what's ahead. But that's where resilience steps in. When you detach from the need for comfort and control, you start to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities. Opportunities to test your limits, to prove your strength, and to show yourself just how much you can endure. And with every challenge you overcome, you build the belief that you are capable of anything. Resilience isn't about avoiding pain or hardship. It's about learning to face it head-on with courage and determination. Life will always throw challenges your way. But what you do with those challenges, how you respond to them, that's what defines you. Resilience is the key to becoming the person you were always meant to be. It's the foundation of personal growth, of strength, and of the courage to keep moving forward, no matter what. When you stop being afraid of hardship, when you stop running from discomfort, you step into your true power. You realize that no matter what the world throws at you, you will not break. You will stand tall, you will adapt, and you will keep going. This is the power of resilience. It's not just about surviving the storms of life. It's about using those storms to build your inner strength. It's about embracing adversity, trusting yourself to navigate it, and becoming stronger with every challenge you face. The more you practice detaching from the need for comfort and control, the more you realize that you are capable of anything. You are the architect of your destiny, and resilience is the foundation upon which you can build a life of strength, power, and unshakable confidence. In a world that constantly pushes us to be social, to connect, to be surrounded by others, solitude is often misunderstood. People fear being alone as if it's something to be avoided, something that signifies loneliness or inadequacy. But in reality, solitude is not a weakness, it's power. It's in those quiet, solitary moments that we have the chance to truly reconnect with ourselves. Away from the distractions and noise of the world, solitude offers a space to reflect, to think, to hear our own thoughts clearly without external influences drowning them out. When we learn to embrace solitude, to be content with our own company, we realize something profound. We don't need others to complete us. We become whole within ourselves, and in that wholeness we find clarity, strength and purpose that can't be found in the hustle and bustle of social life. It's in solitude that we begin to understand our true nature without the influence of others, without the pressure to conform to society's expectations. When we're alone, we are forced to confront ourselves, and in confronting ourselves we find the opportunity for growth. Solitude is not a place of weakness or emptiness. It is a place of profound self-discovery and strength. We often think we need others to feel validated or fulfilled. It's easy to feel like being alone is a sign of failure or loneliness. But in reality, the opposite is true. The ability to be alone without feeling lonely is a sign of emotional maturity and inner strength. When you learn to enjoy your own company, to be at peace with who you are in your own skin, you unlock a freedom that most people never experience. You stop depending on external validation, and you start realizing that your worth is not tied to the opinions or presence of others. You are complete in yourself. The more you embrace solitude, the more you realize that you are your own best companion. You learn to trust yourself, to find joy in your own thoughts, and to cultivate a deeper sense of peace that doesn't rely on anyone else. Solitude is not just about being alone. It's about being at peace with that aloneness. It's about removing the noise, both external and internal, and creating space for your true self to emerge. We live in a world that is constantly demanding our attention, whether it's through social media, work, or the expectations of others. The noise is relentless, but in solitude you can silence that noise and focus on what truly matters: your own mind, your own heart, your own path. In the silence, you can hear your own voice clearly, and it's in hearing that voice that you discover your purpose, your direction, and your strength. At first, being alone can feel uncomfortable. We're not used to it. We're taught from a young age that being social is the key to happiness, that we need others to fill the void. But solitude teaches us that the void doesn't exist. It's a construct we've created. When we allow ourselves to sit with our thoughts, without rushing to fill the silence with distractions or the company of others, we realize that we are enough as we are. We don't need anyone else to complete us. We are whole within ourselves. And in that realization, we find a sense of peace that transcends the constant need for validation or approval from others. In solitude, we also find clarity. How often do we go through life so caught up in the noise of our daily routines, the demands of others, and the chaos of the outside world, that we lose sight of what we truly want? In the solitude of our own thoughts, we can reconnect with our goals, our desires, and our values. We can reassess where we are in life and where we want to go. Solitude is the space where we can ask ourselves the hard questions and confront the answers without distraction or fear. It's in this space that we find the clarity to make better decisions, to realign ourselves with our purpose, and to move forward with confidence. Solitude also builds resilience. When we learn to be alone, we learn to stand on our own 2 feet. We stop relying on others for our sense of security, and instead we cultivate our own inner strength. The more time we spend in solitude, the more we realize that we can handle whatever life throws at us. We become less dependent on external circumstances and more rooted in our own ability to navigate life's challenges. In solitude, we learn that we are capable, strong, and resilient. We become our own source of support, and in doing so, we become unshakable in the face of adversity. This doesn't mean that we should isolate ourselves from the world or reject meaningful relationships. It simply means that we need to find a balance between connection with others and connection with ourselves. We need to prioritize time alone, to recharge, to reflect, and to grow. When we embrace solitude, we learn to cultivate a deeper relationship with ourselves, which in turn strengthens our relationships with others. We become more present, more focused, and more emotionally available because we are no longer seeking validation from others to fill the emptiness we've been taught to fear. Instead, we are complete as we are. Embracing solitude is a practice of tuning out the noise, of being present with yourself, and of learning to trust in your own strength and wisdom. It's a practice of letting go of the fear of loneliness and finding peace in being alone with your thoughts. When you embrace solitude, you realize that the greatest source of fulfillment and strength is not found in external circumstances, but in the depth of your own mind and heart. It's in those quiet moments when you are alone that you reconnect with your true essence and discover the power that lies within you. So the next time you find yourself overwhelmed by the noise of the world, take a step back, embrace the silence. Let go of the fear of being alone and allow yourself the time and space to reconnect with yourself. In that solitude, you'll find the clarity, strength, and purpose you've been searching for. You'll realize that you are enough, just as you are, and that in your aloneness, you are not lonely. You are powerful. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. From the constant buzz of notifications to the endless pressure to fit in, it's easy to get lost in the noise. We're bombarded with so many things, opinions, trends, expectations, that it can feel almost impossible to figure out what really matters. We chase after what's popular, what others think we should want, all while losing sight of what actually brings us true fulfillment. But when you detach from everything that doesn't serve you, something incredible happens. The distractions begin to fade, and you're left with clarity, What was once clouded becomes clear. You start to see what truly matters: your mind, your actions, your purpose. The world's noise no longer drowns out your inner voice. You can hear yourself again, and it's in that silence, that stillness, that you rediscover what truly fulfills you. When you begin to strip away the layers of distraction, the superficial desires, the empty pursuits, the things you thought would make you happy, you start to see yourself more clearly. You begin to reconnect with your own values, your own goals, and your own purpose. The noise that once consumed you becomes nothing more than background chatter, no longer able to drown out the voice that tells you what's important. It's easy to get caught up in the rat race, to constantly chase after the next thing, always thinking that happiness lies just a little further ahead. Society tells us that we need more money, more success, more recognition. But when you stop and take a step back, you realize that none of these things will ever bring you lasting fulfillment. True fulfillment comes from within. It comes from living a life that is in alignment with your values and your purpose, not one that is driven by the expectations or demands of others. When you detach from the need for external validation, you give yourself the freedom to focus on what truly elevates you. This is where the power of discernment comes in. Discernment is the ability to recognize what is truly valuable and worth your time, energy, and attention. It's about making conscious choices to focus on what brings you growth, peace, and meaning. Without discernment, it's easy to waste your life chasing after things that don't matter: temporary pleasures, superficial achievements, or the approval of others. But when you begin to detach, you stop wasting time on things that don't serve your purpose. You start investing in what truly contributes to your well-being and personal growth. You begin to align your actions with your values, and in doing so, you create a life that is purposeful and fulfilling. The more you detach from the noise, the more you begin to see what is essential. You realize that happiness doesn't come from accumulating more things or pleasing more people. It comes from within. It comes from living authentically, from being true to who you are, and from making choices that reflect your true self. The superficial desires that once seemed so important begin to lose their grip on you. You stop chasing after the empty promises of the world and start focusing on what really matters: your relationships, your growth, your sense of purpose. And in doing so, you begin to create a life that is deeply fulfilling, a life that is truly your own. One of the greatest gifts of detachment is the ability to focus. In a world full of distractions, it's easy to get overwhelmed by all the things demanding your attention. But when you detach from everything that doesn't serve you, you create space for focus. You stop spreading yourself too thin, trying to please everyone or meet every expectation. Instead, you can zero in on what's truly important. You become more intentional with your time and energy, and in doing so, you accomplish more of what matters. You begin to invest in the things that will truly elevate you, rather than wasting time on things that only drain you. This process of discerning what matters isn't always easy. It requires you to take an honest look at your life, at your choices, and at the things you've been giving your time and energy to. Are they helping you grow? Are they bringing you closer to your goals? Or are they just distractions? In some cases, you might have to let go of things you once thought were important: relationships, jobs, or even habits that no longer serve your higher purpose. This can be a difficult process, but it's also incredibly liberating. As you shed the unnecessary, you make space for the meaningful, and as you focus on what truly matters, you start to build a life that is aligned with your values and your vision for the future. The power of detachment is not about escaping from the world, it's about engaging with the world in a more mindful, intentional way. It's about reclaiming your power and choosing what you want to invest your time and energy in. It's about understanding that not everything is worth your attention, and that true fulfillment comes from focusing on what aligns with your purpose. When you live with discernment, you stop being reactive to the demands of the world. Instead, you become proactive in creating a life that reflects who you truly are. You stop letting external circumstances dictate your emotional state, and you start living from a place of internal strength and clarity. As you embrace this practice of detachment and discernment, you'll find that your life becomes more meaningful, more purposeful, and more aligned with your true self. You'll stop chasing after empty achievements and start investing in what truly brings you joy and fulfillment. You'll build deeper, more authentic relationships, and you'll create a life that reflects your values and your passions. In the end, it's not about having more, it's about having what truly matters. And that is where true fulfillment lies. So, the next time you find yourself caught up in the distractions of life, take a step back. Ask yourself, what truly matters? What is worth my time, my energy, and my attention? Detach from the noise and focus on what brings you true fulfillment. As you do, you'll start to see that the things that truly matter have always been within your reach. It's not about having more, it's about having what is essential. And in that, you will find a life of purpose, peace, and true fulfillment. Failure is inevitable. It's not a question of if you'll fail, but when. No one gets through life without facing setbacks, mistakes, or disappointments. And for many of us, failure is one of the most terrifying experiences we can face. We spend so much time trying to avoid it, fearing that one mistake will define us forever. But here's the truth. Failure doesn't define you. What defines you is how you respond to it. It's the way you rise after falling, the lessons you learn along the way, and the resilience you build through every failure. When you detach from the fear of failure, you free yourself from its grip. You stop viewing failure as something to avoid at all costs, and you start seeing it for what it really is, an opportunity to learn, grow, and become better. In this process, failure no longer owns you. You are free to fail, learn, and rise again, stronger and more capable than before. Failure is just an event, a moment in time. It's what happens next, how we respond to it, that determines who we are and who we will become. When we allow failure to define us, we become trapped by it. We let it shape our identity and our sense of worth. But when we detach from that fear, when we stop letting failure control us, we regain the power to choose our response. We can use failure as a stepping stone, a chance to grow stronger and wiser with every setback. The key to overcoming failure isn't in avoiding it, it's in embracing it, learning from it, and moving forward. Think about the last time you failed. It might have been a big failure, or it might have been something small, but it probably felt like the world was crashing down. In that moment, it's easy to get consumed by fear, shame, or regret. We might want to hide, to pretend it never happened, or to give up altogether. But those feelings, as intense as they are, don't last forever. In fact, they are often the catalysts for growth. When you detach from the fear of failure, you give yourself the space to process those emotions without letting them dictate your actions. You learn to look at failure objectively, to see it not as an endpoint, but as part of the journey. And in that perspective, you start to understand that failure is not the enemy. It's simply feedback. It's information that tells you what doesn't work, so you can try a different approach, learn something new, and keep moving forward. The fear of failure often keeps us stuck. It makes us hesitate, second-guess ourselves, and procrastinate on taking risks. But the truth is, the only way to succeed is to fail. It's through failure that we learn, adapt, and improve. Every successful person has faced countless failures before reaching their goals. What sets them apart is their ability to keep going, to learn from their mistakes, and to rise each time they fall. The fear of failure only holds us back from realizing our potential, but when we learn to detach from that fear, when we stop seeing failure as something to be feared and instead see it as a natural part of the process, we unlock the freedom to take risks, to make mistakes, and to grow. When you detach from the fear of failure, you stop allowing it to paralyze you. You stop seeing failure as something that defines you and instead begin to see it as something that refines you. It's not about being perfect or avoiding mistakes. It's about using each failure as a lesson that makes you stronger and more capable. The more you embrace this mindset, the more resilient you become. You begin to approach life with a sense of confidence, knowing that even when you fail, you will rise again. Each failure becomes a stepping stone, each setback a valuable lesson. And with every lesson learned, you become more capable of facing whatever comes your way. This doesn't mean failure is easy or painless. It's natural to feel discouraged when things don't go as planned. It's natural to feel frustrated or upset. But the key is to not let those feelings keep you down. When you detach from failure, you give yourself permission to feel those emotions without letting them control you. You acknowledge the disappointment, but you don't let it define your future. You let it pass, and you move on. You don't dwell on your failures or let them become your story. Instead, you turn them into fuel for growth. It's in the moments of failure that we truly learn about ourselves. We learn about our strengths and weaknesses, about our perseverance and our ability to adapt. Failure teaches us humility, patience, and resilience. It shows us that success isn't just about getting everything right. It's about learning from the mistakes, adjusting our course, and trying again. Without failure, there is no growth. And the more we embrace this, the more we can truly succeed, not just in our careers or goals, but in life. The fear of failure often comes from a place of perfectionism, the desire to get everything right, to avoid mistakes at all costs. But perfection doesn't exist, and the pursuit of it only leads to frustration and self-doubt. Detaching from the need to be perfect allows you to embrace failure as a natural and necessary part of growth. It frees you to take risks, to try new things, and to make mistakes without fearing that it will ruin you. Perfectionism keeps us locked in a cycle of anxiety and self-criticism. But when we let go of that need for perfection, we give ourselves the freedom to fail, and more importantly, the freedom to learn and improve. In the end, the art of detaching from failure is about changing our perspective on it. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about learning to rise stronger each time we fall. It's about understanding that failure is not an end point, but a part of the process. When you detach from the fear of failure, you free yourself from the limitations it places on you. You stop letting failure define your worth, and you start using it as a tool to fuel your growth. With each setback, you become more resilient, more capable, and more confident. And that, in itself, is the true power of failure. It's the power to transform, to adapt, and to rise again, stronger than ever before. Freedom is something we all seek, yet many of us don't fully understand what it means. We often think of freedom as having everything go our way, having control over every aspect of our lives, being able to bend the world to our will. But the truth is, true freedom isn't about control. It's about letting go of the need to control everything. When you stop chasing after the illusion of control, you begin to experience a freedom that goes deeper than anything external. Freedom isn't about having your life unfold exactly as you expect it. It's about being at peace with whatever comes your way. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, you have the power to adapt, to grow, and to keep moving forward. And in that power, you find true freedom. To accept yourself fully means to let go of the need for validation from others, to stop trying to control every outcome, and to embrace life as it comes. You stop being a slave to circumstances, to external expectations, or to the constant pressure to be something you're not. Instead, you begin to live on your own terms. You learn to trust yourself, to be at peace with uncertainty, and to know that you are capable of handling whatever life throws your way. In the modern world, we're taught to chase after control. From our careers to our relationships, to the image we project to others, we're often told that we need to manage it all, sometimes to the point where we lose ourselves in the process. But the more we chase control, the more we become slaves to it. We exhaust ourselves trying to micromanage every detail of our lives, believing that if we just get everything right, we'll find happiness and peace. But true freedom doesn't come from control. It comes from acceptance of ourselves, of the things we cannot change, and of the unknowns that lie ahead. The moment we stop fighting life, we begin to experience a kind of freedom that doesn't rely on perfect circumstances or a fixed outcome. It's freedom from anxiety, from self-doubt, and from the need for external approval. When you detach from the need for control, you stop living in reaction to life. You stop being at the mercy of what's happening around you, and you start living intentionally, grounded in your own values and purpose. This doesn't mean that life will always be easy, or that things will always go your way. Life will throw challenges at you, unexpected changes will happen, and sometimes things won't turn out as planned. But when you stop clinging to control, you begin to find peace in the midst of it all. You stop resisting life's natural flow, and instead you move with it. You adapt, you grow, you keep moving forward. And that in itself is freedom. The freedom to live fully, no matter what. One of the most powerful aspects of true freedom is the ability to adapt. Life is full of unpredictability, and the more we try to control it, the more frustrated we become when things don't go our way. But when you embrace the idea that you can't control everything, you start to see life differently. You realize that your real power doesn't lie in controlling the external world. It lies in your ability to adapt to whatever happens. You learn that no matter what life throws at you, you have the strength to navigate it, to find solutions, and to keep going. This adaptability is the cornerstone of freedom. The more you accept that life is constantly changing, the more you free yourself from the pressure to control it. This is where true peace comes in. When you stop chasing control, you stop worrying about the what-ifs and the what-should-bes. You stop being afraid of what might go wrong because you trust in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. This sense of inner peace is what allows you to live freely. You no longer live in fear of the unknown or of failure. Instead, you embrace life with a sense of curiosity, knowing that every experience, good or bad, is a chance to learn and grow. You become less concerned with the outcome and more focused on the journey. You trust that no matter what happens, you'll be able to handle it. When you live from a place of inner peace and acceptance, you stop being a slave to other people's expectations. So much of our lives are shaped by what others think of us, what they want from us, or what they expect us to do. But when you free yourself from this need for external validation, you start to live on your own terms. You stop seeking approval from others and begin to make decisions based on what's best for you. This is the ultimate form of freedom, the ability to live authentically without worrying about how you're perceived or what others expect from you. You are free to pursue your own path, to follow your own dreams, and to make choices that reflect who you truly are. This freedom doesn't mean that you become indifferent or detached from the world. Quite the opposite. It means that you engage with life on your own terms. You stop being reactive and start being proactive. You take responsibility for your own happiness, for your own growth, and for your own success. You stop waiting for things to fall into place and start creating the life you want, knowing that you have the power to shape your own future. You stop being a passive participant in your own life and become the active architect of your destiny. And in that, you find a deep sense of satisfaction and fulfillment that comes from living authentically and intentionally. Freedom is also about letting go of the idea that you have to be perfect. So many of us are trapped by the fear of failure or the desire to get everything right. We think that we need to control every aspect of our lives to avoid mistakes or shortcomings. But true freedom comes when we let go of that fear. It comes when we accept that we are imperfect, that we will make mistakes, and that's okay. Life is not about perfection, it's about growth. When you stop fearing failure and start embracing it as part of the process, you open yourself up to the freedom of possibility. You realize that every mistake is a lesson, every failure a chance to improve, and with that mindset, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Ultimately, creating a life of freedom is about shifting your perspective. It's about realizing that you are the one who determines your path. It's about choosing to live for yourself, not for others or for external expectations. When you stop chasing control, you stop being held hostage by life's unpredictability. You embrace it, and in doing so, you open the door to a deeper kind of freedom, the freedom to live fully, authentically, and on your own terms. This is the freedom that brings peace, that brings joy, and that brings fulfillment. And once you understand that, you will never feel controlled by life again. You will be the one who controls how you respond to it. In a world that constantly pulls us in every direction, the idea of detachment is often misunderstood. We tend to think of detachment as a rejection of the world, as turning away from the things that matter. But in reality, detachment is not about rejecting life. It's about freeing yourself from its grip. It's about gaining control over your mind, your emotions, and your responses. When you detach, you stop being at the mercy of life's unpredictability. The chaos of the world no longer has the power to control you. You become untouchable, unshaken, and unbroken. No matter what happens around you, you remain steady. The power of detachment lies in this. You stop being a victim of circumstances, and instead, you become the master of your own destiny. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." This insight speaks directly to the power of detachment. It's not about retreating from the world, it's about looking within yourself to find the strength and clarity you need to navigate the chaos outside. When you detach from external distractions, you connect more deeply with your inner world, and in that connection, you find the power to remain untouchable by life's storms. You become the calm in the center of the chaos. We live in a world that thrives on constant change, unpredictability, and external pressures. The world around us is always shifting, and it's easy to feel like we're constantly being swept along by forces beyond our control. Whether it's the pressure of social expectations, the unpredictability of the economy, or the emotional roller coaster of personal relationships, life often feels like it's happening to us. But when you learn to detach, you stop feeling like you're being tossed around by these external forces. You realize that no matter how unpredictable life becomes, you have the ability to control how you respond. And that is the power of detachment. It's not about ignoring reality, it's about choosing how to engage with it. When you detach, you stop reacting to life with fear, frustration, or helplessness. Instead, you face each challenge with a calm and clear mind, knowing that you are in control of your own responses. The more you practice detachment, the more you begin to realize that nothing outside of you has the power to control your emotional state. When you stop relying on external validation, approval, or outcomes to define your sense of worth. You free yourself. You are no longer subject to the whims of others. You no longer feel the need to seek approval from people or from circumstances to feel good about yourself. Instead, you derive your sense of strength and value from within. This is the true essence of power, the ability to remain unaffected by the external world, to stay grounded in who you are, regardless of what's happening around you. This ability to remain untouchable is the key to mastering your own destiny. Life is always going to throw challenges at you. There will be setbacks, disappointments, and obstacles along the way. But the more you detach from the need for control, the less these challenges will have the power to knock you off course. You stop seeing obstacles as roadblocks and start seeing them as opportunities to grow. You realize that no matter what happens, you have the power to adapt, to adjust, and to keep moving forward. You become like a tree in the storm, standing tall, strong, and unbroken, no matter how fierce the wind blows. You become untouchable, not because the world stops being chaotic, but because you stop allowing it to control your state of mind. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about life or the people in it. On the contrary, it means you care deeply, but you understand that your emotional well-being doesn't depend on anything outside of you. It's about learning to love without attachment, to work without expectation, and to give without need. When you detach, you stop depending on others for your happiness. You stop relying on external circumstances to define your peace. Instead, you find peace within yourself, and that peace becomes your shield against life's inevitable challenges. In the process of detachment, you begin to create your own freedom. The more you detach from the need for control, the more you realize that you have the power to shape your own life. You no longer live in reaction to the world, you live with intention. You stop living by other people's rules or standards, and you start living by your own. You make decisions based on what's right for you, not based on what others expect or what the world says you should do. You become the author of your own story, no longer a passive participant in your own life. The freedom that comes with detachment is liberating. It's the freedom to be yourself, to live according to your own values, and to make choices that align with your true purpose. When you stop chasing after approval or the illusion of control, you realize that you are already free. You are free from the fear of failure, free from the pressure to conform, free from the need to control every aspect of your life. You stop living in fear of what might go wrong, and instead, you embrace the uncertainty of life with confidence and strength. The more you detach, the stronger you become. You stop being a victim of life's circumstances, and instead, you take charge of your own journey. You become someone who is unshaken, no matter what challenges arise. This is the true meaning of resilience, not just bouncing back from setbacks, but standing firm in the face of them. When you detach, you stop letting life's chaos dictate your emotional state. You find the calm within the storm, and in that calm, you find your power. Becoming untouchable doesn't mean you become detached from the world entirely. It means you become untouchable to the things that used to control you, the fear, the doubts, the need for validation. You stop living in reaction to life, and you start living intentionally, with clarity and purpose. You stop allowing the external world to dictate your emotional state, and you start taking control of your own mind, your own responses, and your own destiny. In this state of detachment, you become a force to be reckoned with. No matter what life throws at you, you remain grounded, confident, and unshaken. You realize that you don't need to control the world around you to find peace. You simply need to control how you respond to it. The world will always be chaotic, but your inner world doesn't have to be. When you master your inner world, you become untouchable. You become a force of nature, capable of weathering any storm with grace and strength. And that is the true power of detachment, the power to live on your own terms, free from the grip of the world. Remember, the true power lies within you, not in controlling the world, but in mastering how you respond to it. Detach from what no longer serves you, and embrace the freedom to live on your own terms. The world will always throw challenges your way, but when you stand firm in your own strength, nothing can break you. Thank you for being part of Stoic Journal today. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to check out the next one on the screen. Keep growing, keep evolving, and stay untouchable.